Good morning, beautiful. Today, I'm taking you to the races. Larry here with Southern Exposure, information and inspiration for the amateur photographer, where I share lessons, tips, and personal stories of my photography journey. So please subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss anything. If you watch many YouTube videos, then you know that everything on YouTube these days is supposed to be fast, fast, fast. Now, that style doesn't really come naturally to me, so I figured if I want to keep pace, I better find some fast subject material. In the world of motorsports, it doesn't get much faster than a top fuel dragster blasting from 0 to 330 miles per hour in under 4 seconds. I've been a fan of drag racing my whole life, and last weekend I took my wife and daughter to the NHRA Southern Nationals at Atlanta Dragway. Body brake. If you've never been to one of these events, it's a lot of fun. The top level cars produce over 10,000 horsepower on nitromethane fuel. That power gets to the track through a special clutch pack that's designed to actually use the friction heat generated to weld the clutch plates together progressively as the run progresses, applying more and more power to the pavement until the chutes are popped 1,000 feet later at the finish line. The destruction of the clutch and the incredible strain put on the motors means that the entire engine and clutch pack needs to be completely rebuilt between each run. So not only are the cars moving fast, but the crews are too. And in addition to watching the incredible acceleration of these machines off the starting line, you get full pit access to watch the crews as they tear down and rebuild the machines between each run, and even meet the drivers for some pictures and autographs. Naturally, I had to bring my camera along for this trip, and I faced some pretty challenging conditions along the way, which I'll share with you now. First, the pit area offers some pretty challenging lighting conditions. The pit consists of a team trailer and a work area covered with a canopy that has fluorescent or LED lighting. Now, the midday sun is a lot brighter than the lighting in the work area, so your camera naturally wants to underexpose the image. To counteract this, I put my camera in aperture priority mode and then added 1 to 2 stops of exposure compensation to balance things out, depending on the situation. This got most of my exposures pretty close, if not dead on, requiring only minor adjustments in Lightroom. I also had to watch that my shutter speed didn't drop too low because the crew members are moving fast and you can end up with some motion blur. The next challenge was the races themselves, and this was definitely more difficult for me. With a fast-moving subject, you naturally think of a fast shutter speed to freeze the action. The problem with motorsports, though, is if you set your shutter speed too fast, you freeze all the action and you end up with a picture that looks like a car just sitting motionless on the track. Not very exciting. What I was after was the classic racing shot with a tack-sharp car and the background showing motion blur that conveys a sense of motion and speed to the picture. To achieve this, you need to drop your shutter speed a little bit and pan with the car as it passes by using continuous shooting mode. Sounds easy enough, but remember, if you drop your shutter speed too low, it becomes very difficult to keep the car in sharp focus. If you don't drop it enough, you end up with that frozen action and what I call the parking lot shot. Image stabilization can help, especially if your camera or lens has sport stabilization. Look for it in your menus or documentation, but basically what sport mode does is it stabilizes any up and down tilting motion, but allows the panning left and right to remain relatively smooth. That's the setting I used last weekend on my Z6. The next challenge is just tracking the cars with the viewfinder and keeping them in frame. There's no simple trick to this. The only way I know of that you can get better at tracking subjects is practice, practice, practice. And I definitely need some more practice at that. One thing you can do to make it a little bit easier is set your focus point right in the center of your frame. This gives you a little bit of a buffer zone ahead of and behind the car if you're not tracking perfectly. In addition, the center focus point on most cameras is usually the fastest and most accurate focusing point. I used the high continuous shooting mode on the Z6, and I'd start firing off shots as soon as both cars were staged. I took around 800 pictures in one day, and ended up with a handful that I think are pretty decent. So aside from getting some experience shooting in a situation that I wasn't used to, I've also gained a whole new respect for professional sports photographers. This is a lot harder than it looks. All in all, we had a great day at the races. Although I didn't get as many keepers from the actual races as I wanted, I learned that an event like this offers a lot of photographic opportunities. From the activity, the personalities, the brightly colored cars, to the racing action itself, you'll find plenty of interesting things to point your camera at. So subscribe, like, share, etc. And the next time you feel the need for speed, grab your camera and head to the local drag strip so that you can take pictures and have fun doing it.